Hey friend, welcome officially to the House of Sirens. There was a different video that I was going to post for my first official channel video tomorrow, but I felt like I really needed to talk through this space for me. And also, if it was a blessing or encouragement for somebody else, I felt like that would be great too. So this is episode 1 officially of the official House of Sirens YouTube channel. And we're just going to talk about loss. I'm going to tell you about me. I'm going to tell you what I do in order to keep myself high vibrational, in order to keep myself aligned, in order to keep myself too far inside of my head, okay? And what I do to navigate the hills and the valleys that still come with loss. So I lost my mother to stage 4 lung cancer when I was 13. She was diagnosed with cancer when I was 10, but when they caught it, it was at stage 4. So she went through chemo, she went through a couple series of radiation, and eventually she passed on Halloween of 2004. I lost my father when I was 31 in 2022. He had complications from diabetes. He ended up having to get a triple amputation, and he passed 10 days after I moved back home from Las Vegas. So I am not a stranger to loss. I've lost 3 best friends in the last 10 years, all different ways, but loss is something that I have unfortunately known all too well. And so when we start to get into holiday season, it gets dense, right? Everybody is out celebrating with family, celebrating with friends, celebrating with loved ones, and we're alone. And we have to figure out what to do with the loneliness. We have to figure out how to not project that onto other people, but also deal with our shit, right? Also deal internally with the things that are hard, that we struggle with. You know, if you are going through loss of any kind, I'm so sorry. It is not a fan club that we ever wanted to join. We never joined by choice, right? We never joined by choice, but here we are relating over shared trauma, okay? This is not a trauma bond. This is a healing session. So I just want to make that clear. You have to really deal with the loss. And I know that it's hard. And one of the things that my mom always used to tell me was, eventually you get to eventually. And I don't think I really understood how much that would help me cope with the loss of her. Because eventually I got to eventually where I didn't cry every day, where it wasn't so hard to get out of the bed, where depression wasn't eating me alive. You know, because I lost my mother so young, I turned to anger first. And my teenage years were volatile. I was drinking, I was going to the clubs. We had teen club. I'm from New Jersey. So we had teen club at Shampoo, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was there, I was drinking. I was halfway manic, right? And then I graduate high school and I am thrown into HBCU life. I decided to go to Morgan, and my anxiety, my depression, it was still ramping up, and I was away from home. I didn't have my anchor, right? I didn't have a system to keep me under control. And so I spiraled, because spiraling was easy. Lashing out was easy. You know, telling people that I hated them and telling people that they weren't like my mom and, you know, all of that. It was easy. It was easy for me because I didn't want to feel the sadness that would sink in if I allowed my mind to get too far, right? I didn't want to allow myself to be vulnerable. And so my late teens to mid 20s were just a blur. I was getting locked up. I was buying $500 worth of liquor. I was partying with my friends. I was out of my body because it was easy to be, because I didn't want to sit with what my life was, you know? And so I made a lot of crazy decisions. I did a lot of crazy shit. Fun, I had fun, but it was also traumatizing, the situations that I put myself into because I wouldn't deal with my trauma, you know? And then I moved away from home. I'm rebuilding my life. I'm rebuilding my structure. And my dad gets sick and I have to come home for him. And 10 days after I come home, because I think I'm taking care of him, he passes away, and I'm thrown right back into trauma. I'm thrown right back into a cycle of, why did this happen to me? I can't understand why I am a person that has to keep going through these things. And so I'm using my tools. I'm in spirituality. You know, I'm grounding myself. I'm aligning myself. I'm trying to manifest myself out of this pit. And finally, I had to understand that I had to allow myself to break, because I didn't allow myself to break when my mother passed. I didn't allow myself to break when my best friend committed suicide. I didn't allow myself to break when my other best friend died in childbirth. And now I'm losing my father. And so I have to finally break. I have to allow myself to be unwell. I have to allow myself to be uncomfortable, because that is literally the only way that I'm going to survive this. I gotta get this off of me. And so I did. I took 4 months, and I just allowed myself to spiral, and I allowed myself to go through the emotion, and I allowed myself to truly not be okay. And it was the best thing that happened to me, y'all. I promise you it was, because the trauma was eating me alive. It was eating up my friendships. It was eating up my relationships. It was eating up romance. It was eating up my business. It was eating up everything. I could not survive. I could not survive being that person. I would not have survived being that person. So I had to break, and it was beautiful. And out of that, I realized everybody made a choice. My mother smoked cigarettes for 20 years before she had me. And I'm not wishing cancer on her, but I understand that the choice brought her the illness. I understand the choice brought her the illness. My dad knew he had to take diabetes medication, and he didn't. That choice continued his illness, you know? And so I had to make a choice to be better. And a part of me being better was isolating myself from my family. Both sides of my family, I love them. So if you guys see this, I love you, but I don't want to be like you. I don't not want to be healed. I don't not want to be able to be loved properly. I don't want to stifle myself and repress myself because of my emotions. So I had to do what I had to do in order to save myself, and that was isolation. But it does get hard. I would love to be around my family. I would love to be around my friends. But these are the times where I tell myself that I did what was comfortable for me, because I had to. Because self-preservation should always be your first law. It should always be the thing that you are able to resort back to, right? And trauma teaches us how to fall out of love with ourselves. It teaches us that something is wrong with us, right? Why do I feel like this? Why am I so angry? Why am I so emotional? Why can't I get my shit together? Why do I keep repeating these patterns from childhood, from abuse, from whatever, right? It keeps us in this loop of our own negative self-talk. And you have to rebuild you again. So because I took the last 17 years, 18 years of my life to rebuild myself, I will be damned if I let anybody take me out of that place. So I will deal with the loneliness. I will deal with the isolation, because I could deal with it now in wholeness, and it doesn't come from an angry place, and it doesn't come from a vengeful place. I love you enough to leave you alone. I love you enough to know that if I come back into this situation, it will probably not be healthy. I want healed people around me now. I want aligned people around me now. I want people that could see me for who I am and see the best versions of me and understand that all of this comes with a lifestyle that I chose. So I'll take the loneliness. I'll definitely take the isolation, because what I don't have to deal with is the fucking mess. But let's talk about you. Let's talk about what you're able to do in order to build yourself up, in order to align yourself with the best possible scenario for yourself. Let's talk about what that looks like. Let's talk about what that feels like. Let's talk about what that is. Be honest with what you're feeling. You don't have to stifle your emotions for the world. It's really important to be honest with him. Sit with what's wrong. Sit with how you're feeling and tell yourself that it's okay. Look at your wounds, not from a place of judgment, but literally just from a place of assessment. What do you need to do in order to start to feel better? Do you have an anchored practice? Is there something that you could do right now that could kind of ground you back into reality? Because when we start going through these triggers and these trauma cycles and these trauma responses, most of the time we're in our head. So what can you do? Can you light a candle? Can you watch a favorite show? Can you get some rest? Can you journal? What is it that you have that's tangible that's going to be able to start to get you out of that rinse and repeat cycle of emotion, neglect, and then re-traumatizing? One big thing that really helped for me is treating the day like it's a personal reset. So today is Christmas, and I'm cleaning my house. It keeps me busy. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me centered. I could blast oldies and Christmas music that me and my parents used to listen to. I could focus on the better memories. I could focus on the things that were good when I had them here. And it doesn't have to be dense and it doesn't have to be heavy. It could be a time for self-reflection on some silly thing that you did with them or some crazy gift that you got. In my family, in my mom's side of the family, we used to give gag gifts. And so each year I think about a gag gift that I gave to one of my family members that is no longer here, or a gift that I got from them. One time I actually got like 20-year-old shoe polish from my great grandmother. That was the one that I thought about today. It instantly made me smile. It was like a we're kind of crazy moment, but also it was just a reminder that I did have good times with my family and that there were magical moments that we shared, even if I don't have them right now. Is there a place that you can go to get out of your head? Is it a coffee shop? Is it outside? Can you ground yourself in nature? I know if you're on the East Coast like myself, most of the places it's cold, but sometimes that cool breeze can actually get you out of your head. Is there somewhere that feels like home away from home? And lastly, limit exposures to comparison triggers, okay? We know that people are celebrating with their family. We don't need to be overly saturated on social media, creating conflict in our own mind, okay? The day looks different for you, and that's okay. But don't compare your walk, the things that you've had to go through, the life that you are struggling to uproot yourself from the happiness of somebody else. That's not fair to you. And it's really not fair to them either. So make sure that today is your day to sit with yourself and just figure it out. I love you. I am you. If you are going through things, I promise you it gets better, okay? Take this journey one day, one step at a time. Don't overcompensate. Just be. It's okay to just be. Until next time, I'm Nay, and this is the official House of Sirens.